Hello everybody, it is I, YouTube Cool, back again, and today I'm going to be reviewing a very special set of items. As you can see here, these are all die casts from Mater Private Eye. I got these from Rusty Studios, who I should have explained this in another video that should be uploading tomorrow by the time I'm recording this. I'm pre-recording all of my reviews for now because I want to make sure I get them all done before, the busy months come in. But in a video, I explained that Rusty Studios retired from Cars. I don't remember if it's the entire community or just, the video making, but Rusty's is unfortunately not making videos anymore. And even sold off the entire collection. So if I remember correctly, I wasn't able to grab many of the die casts that were just regular Mattel releases, which is a shame because Rusty's had a lot of really good ones. Race Damage Mood Springs, Flick, who's really hard to get, like, with the antennas. I'm assuming because of Rumourandus Buggus, people want to make customs of that. And also Flick hasn't been out in a while. Rollin' Chomp Dino, I think there were some pretty good factory customs as well, but of course those are dime a dozen, so. And initially I was upset I missed out on a lot of the super, good items from Mattel. But then I found that Rusty's hadn't sold off the customs yet, which actually, got me interested again because, of course, customs are one of one, and Rusty's, in my opinion, like, one of the main things that I want to do, like Rusty's, is have these super creative and, cool customs. Because Rusty's primarily did these I think the main three things I remember Rusty Studios doing were skit videos, rankings, and the custom diecast reviews. Rusty's did regular diecast reviews as well, but there were so many different customs, so many race damage customs, so many just like super creative things, like a ghost dock at one point. And so I was really elated to find that Rusty's had the Mater Private Eye diecasts just available. And not only that, Rusty Studios had Disney Store Big D. This is not a custom. This is, in fact, the real Disney Store Big D that was released only once, I believe, in a 3-pack. So not only did I get my hands on some really interesting customs, but I also just have one of my only Disney Store items. I don't collect the Disney Store very frequently. I'm primarily collecting in the 155 scale because that's sort of the main thing, right, for Cars is the Mattel 155 scale diecast line. But every so often, the Disney Store will come out with just like items that Mattel hasn't made or just super creative items. And I would love to get some Disney Store Cars. I definitely want to get regular McQueen at some point, or any of those like really cool, ironically enough, like Rusty Studios, Disney Store makes some really insane, like, repaints of already existing items. My mind typically jumps to their attempts at, there was a lime green McQueen for Dragon McQueen. There was a purple and red Tokyo Mater. This really cool blue flame Greta. There's a metallic Fabrizio of all things. That one character from Cars 2 that showed up in the Mattel diecast line as like a chase one year and just kind of fell by the wayside and is only really memorable for being kind of expensive now. Yeah, there's just a metallic variant of that. They did all of the ice racers for everyone, not just the World Grand Prix racers, but also the international racers. So yeah, just a lot of super creative things from the Disney Store. But of course, I primarily focus on new characters, and Big D is a character that I'm really excited to own. So I think I'm going to go through these left to right, just because I think that's probably the best way to go about this here. Technically, this is the same assortment as that Disney Store 3-pack, which is why I considered to just review all three of these at once rather than individually. So I'm going to put Big D and Mater in the back, and I'm going to start with McQueen. Okay, so as you can tell, McQueen is not in black and white, which is why I decided to start with him. And that's kind of unfortunate, but I get it. You know, this is what a typical police car looks like, and it would be really cool to have a black and white version of this, though. I have taken some pictures of this guy in black and white, and I think I'm probably going to make the thumbnail black and white just because, you know, that's like the whole point of Mater Private Eye. But yeah, Lieutenant McQueen. Ironically, this guy does have an official Mattel diecast in the form of a mini racer that they produced a while back. Lieutenant McQueen is a really popular McQueen variant, despite the fact that he does not have a 155 scale. I think it's really distracting, but makes sense. It's police car McQueen. Got this really nice expression. Of course, this is just a repaint of Cruisin' McQueen. On the top, we have the headlight roof lights, you know. I don't know how these were made, but they are pretty sharp, so I think they were just made using like glue or putty or something, and they just ended up being really sharp, which is a very interesting way to go about it. But yeah, the expression is again the same as, you know, Cruisin' McQueen. There's nothing under on the hood, which makes sense because regular Cruisin' McQueen doesn't have anything on the hood. I'm gonna see if I can pull out Cruisin' McQueen. Mine is a Thailand variant. I don't have a China one. I've been considering getting the lenticular because I used to have the 3-pack with the lenticular in it, and also my Thailand Cruisin' McQueen is unfortunately a bit damaged, and the repair job has been kind of fading off, and just in general, it's a mess. I really hope they re-release Cruisin' McQueen from China, because I definitely think China does a bit of a better job with their metallic paint. Not by much, because metallic paint is just inherently more fragile, but I think it would be a lot better than this chrome that peels off if I so much as even, you know, sneeze on this thing. So again, that's what a Thailand Cruisin' McQueen looks like compared to this. The white walls are mostly the same, although they have black rims. There is the police logo. You know, McQueen doesn't actually have a molded door, so it's really funny that they did it like this. I think honestly, I kind of wish they aped off of Cruisin' McQueen a little more and had this sort of like little slide. I know this is meant to look like an old school Corvette or something, but I think having that for Lieutenant McQueen would have been really cool, and, you know, help make it still feel like a McQueen and not just, well, I guess the whole point is that it's just a guy. Lieutenant McQueen. Not my favorite McQueen variant, honestly. You know, I know it's a cool premise. It's, oh, McQueen is police car, but I think there are very few police cars in the diecast line that really stick out to me. Really, the only ones that do stick out in my mind are Mike 07 and Dee Dee, and of course Sheriff, who took me years to get. So there is the back here. The other white walls. And the logo again. This little like light piece here, this flashlight is actually just made from a Lego piece, if I recall correctly. That is really creative. I don't see a lot of McQueen, like Lieutenant McQueen merch include the flashlight, but that is something that's on him in the short. So I rewatched the short recently, like I think the day I got the items. Ironically enough, that was also the day I got White Walls McQueen, so it's really funny that I got two McQueens with their white walls. That's a really funny coincidence. So yeah, let's flip over to the side, and it should say 3216A. So this was a 2007 Cruisin' Lightning McQueen, his first ever release. Very interesting, very cool to see. I'm gonna go see if I can pull out my other Because as you guys may know, we've gotten a few more McQueens with the concept of McQueen as a police, or just, some sort of, I don't know how to describe it, like McQueen with roof lights. Okay, here are my two other, I guess, police McQueens, but that's kind of broad because that's not entirely correct. So, of course, we first got Deputy Hazard back in 2023. Mine is this is the with slime variant. I just didn't have the slime attached. You guys may remember that I actually did get the regular Deputy Hazard with slime back in 2025, actually, when I got the Bella Cadaver 2-pack, because I really wanted to get Bella Cadaver. She was one of the main on-the-road items I was missing. But I sold that variant off because they unfortunately chose to not update Deputy Hazard, which was really unfortunate, but I don't mind since, this version without the slime is basically a regular Deputy Hazard. The expressions are very, very similar. So in my mind, I didn't really see a point in keeping the original because I can just do this. So yeah, you can sort of see the difference in the items. So again, yeah, this is McQueen. He is technically a police type car. He is a deputy to a sheriff named Tony Motorfelt, who unfortunately I did not get despite seeing him in stores. I was trying to get Boost of Flames at the time, and also Chris Freeman. Tony just kind of fell by the wayside because the other cars in his wave were just a little more interesting to me, but I would still love to get Tony Motorfelt or Roscoe. I mainly wanted him just because he looked a lot like Roscoe, and Roscoe's genuinely one of my favorite character designs. But yeah, this is McQueen playing a cop. He's not actually a cop, he's just dressed up like one. But this is McQueen as an actual police lieutenant. So I don't remember which comes higher in the ranking, but it is pretty funny that McQueen has had this profession twice. Well, actually, I know there was a Radiator Springs Police Department series back in the Mini Adventures line, and also Tomica does rescue vehicles every so often. Cars as rescue vehicles is such a common thing. It's actually crazy. It's still crazy to think that it took till 2025 for us to get just like a full-on expanded universe line dedicated to that. Now, of course, that's gone with a lot of contention because Race and Rescue has continued on way longer than any other expanded universe line I think has ever, unless you really stretch it and say the Silver Edition cars from Cars 2, because they came out in like 2012, no, 2011, because this is before they updated Jeff and like Shoe or something. And then they decided to release that a couple more times under the TROC branding. And then in 2020, they decided, hey, let's make new silver versions of some of the World Grand Prix racers. And those guys are really weird to me because, like, they're not direct re-releases, unlike Silver McQueen. I'm going on a tangent. Point is, Race and Rescue is one of the longest running expanded universe lines, and it's drawn a lot of negative attention. But this is a McQueen with a, roof light bar, Although I don't know what he does. In the book, he gets this paint job after, I believe it was Cal Weathers, finds himself in an oil slick around Willie's Butte, and he and Cruz jump over a flame of some kind. So I don't exactly know what McQueen does specifically. I've never really liked this McQueen, to be honest. It's way too just. It's not a super innovative McQueen, is my problem with it. Right? It's a pretty standard McQueen design. It feels very. We needed a McQueen to fit in with the rescue vehicles that this line is based on. Because if they had just Rally Race McQueen, it would be really weird because McQueen wouldn't fit in with the rest of the Radiator Springs Times. I would have preferred. I fully just would probably not have gotten this McQueen on my own. The only reason I did is because my brother found it at Walmart Neighborhood Market. That's the only reason I own this thing. But I believe I went on record saying all that in my Race and Rescue McQueen video from a while back. So if you guys are really interested in what I have to say about Race and Rescue McQueen specifically, then there you go. Maybe I'll get the new 4-pack for Red, Sally, and Sarge, since I am missing them, and it could be an interesting experience getting a new 4-pack. But Yeah. So here they all are, I guess. Here is actually all of them. So yeah, again, Race and Rescue McQueen is very similar to Deputy Hazard, and neither of them are really that similar to Lieutenant Lightning McQueen. Really unfortunate that Mattel didn't make any Mater Private Eye items. I think they probably would have in 2010. Honestly, I think it was a missed opportunity to not do them all as new releases in 2013 specifically. Because 2013 gave us a lot of the, not a lot, but a couple of the missing items from Cars Tunes. I've been planning on making a Cars Tunes diecast that should be made. Or not that. I got a cease and desist letter from T-Tour Review. I'm kidding. But I did have the idea to do something similar to like Ty's videos where I go over each Cars Tune and go in chronological order of what diecast I think. It's been on the back burner though, since that would require me to go after all the Cars Tunes and screenshot the different characters. And for Mater Private Eye, I don't know what I'm gonna do because none of the diecast got made for Mater Private Eye. So do I even include it? Do I just say everyone? Like, what do I do there? So yeah, back to what this video was about. Lieutenant McQueen. All right, now to put you guys back. I'm just gonna leave them on the side. I don't feel like putting them back in the package because I keep all my cars in the... So I think I'm gonna go. I'm gonna save Big D for last. So this is Mater Private Eye. I don't know what else they would call him. It'd be really funny if they called him like Sleuth Mater or something. Just like completely just go wild with the naming scheme. Again, him and McQueen are both customs made by Rusty Studios. When I showed these off to people, a lot of them were quick to point out that the paint quality isn't the best since there was no real priming. And on one hand, I do get that. I have seen other people make customs that are a bit more... I'm typically someone who, when I go for customs, I try to make them as authentic as possible. But in this instance, I really like the homemade feel. It feels very... Well, obviously homemade, but it just feels so personal, Like, this isn't just a custom. This is someone's art. And to have art from someone that I watched, I looked up to, and now I'm the bearer of the responsibility of keeping these, in good condition, keeping these in, I don't know how to describe it. Just like, I'm glad I inherited these, basically. I'm really happy that I was able to be the one to get my hands on these. Not only because having new Cars Tunes items, I love the Cars Tunes. Genuinely might be my favorite bit of Cars media. Just because the Cars Tunes have so many fun, creative designs. They're so funny. I always love popping one on just to have a laugh. I love quoting them constantly. A lot of the best jokes from the Cars series are in there. But also, again, just these mean a lot more to me because they came from, someone who I was a big fan of. It's kind of the equivalent of like owning like an autographed like jersey for like a sports player or something. All right, emotional bit aside. Here is Mater. I like the expression that was put on here. Again, the paint isn't... The paint was brush stroked on, and also Brandon Mater has these raised eyelids. He's been like that for all of his China releases. Thailand is the only instance of a flat eyes brand new Mater, which is really unfortunate because I think it does look really good. But the raised eyes, I never really liked the raised eyes. I think that's a bit of a hot take, but I don't know. It never really looked that right to me. So I'm really glad they scrapped that in the later years of the Cars diecast line because it just looks kind of distracting to me. It also makes it really annoying to make customs because you can't change the eyes, right? The eyelids are molded in, so it really prevents a lot of cars from having super unique expressions. And it really came to a head with the Piston Cup racers. They are all the exact same, but their Thailand variants do a much better job of making each of them look more distinct. So I really appreciate getting rid of raised eyelids. I really think the Cars diecast line benefited from not having these because it's a lot less restricting now. And this fedora really interests me. As you can see, it's removable, which I really appreciate because it is removable in the short, although not when Mater. This diecast does not incorporate the bandage that Mater gets around halfway through the short when I believe it was Claude. Yeah, because there's two pitties, Clyde and Claude, that kick Mater out of the club that he goes to get more info on. Was it Mia or Tia? I can't remember which one was which in the short. I just watched it. Carsoon's dementia theory is real. I can't remember which one it was, but I know one of them was kidnapped. I guess spoilers for the short, but it's been around for years and it's free on YouTube. Disney recently did all of the Mater's Tall Tales. I don't think they've done... Wait, did they do Time Travel Mater? I don't think they uploaded Time Travel Mater. I think they just did up to... I think it was Air Mater. That's really interesting. I don't know. Again, I don't remember. But yeah, the fedora is only comes off when at the end of the short. Which by that point, Mater has lost his headlight. It got plopped off him. So yeah, I still appreciate the fedora being removable. It allows for, you know. I think my only issue with it is that it's a really hard to keep the fedora on and still, you know, mess around with him. Like if I want Mater to do stuff, then I have to be extra careful. I've considered using double-sided tape to keep it more secure. I think I will probably do that. I think it would be a good way. I don't know where exactly this fedora comes from. I guess I'm going to have to do some sleuthing on this, but I believe this fedora came from some sort of Mickey Mouse playset. Like one of those Minnie's Boutique ones. You guys remember that? That was like a short series that Disney was doing. My only reason being that there's this little bow tie, which I don't think Mater has. I would love to do my own takes on these customs. To sort of see like the comparison. It's really nice having these as a sort of like baseline reference for how to go about making Mater Private Eye die casts. You know, I also want to touch on, again, I said this earlier. I think if Mattel made these, they would have all probably been black and white, because that's been a popular theory as to why Mater Private Eye merch never got made, is because they are all in black and white. But I want to disprove that because we got Time Travel Mater merch, and similarly to Mater Private Eye, they play around with, you know, different filters, and some of the diecasts were released in this sepia tone. So it's not impossible to make monochromatic diecasts. So I think Mattel probably would have just made every single character in black and white. Of course, that I don't know how well that would sell because, you know, black and white cars aren't super colorful, but I think, you know, again, that's the point. And also they would be distinct from any other character. I think the only problem is one of the cars does appear at the end of the short. Of course, the entire like concept of Cartoons is that something from the story ends up being real. And in this instance, it was the I think it was the like dancer lady at the club that showed up at the end and her conga line of pitties. I think that probably would have just been like a separate release or something. I could see that being like a multi-pack exclusive item or something. Yeah, but I think overall Mattel probably would have just gone over this as just all black and white. Man, this video is going on for way too long. So yeah, the rest of the item isn't much to write home about. It's just brand new Mater, but painted. Wait. Oh my goodness, I completely forgot. Rusty's painted in the mirrors. Wait, actually. No, never mind. I forgot. Brand new Mater has the mirrors painted in by default. They don't do that on regular Mater, only on brand new Mater. I guess to signify that Mater's mirrors got rusty or something. I really wish they would paint in the mirrors on Maters more, or just use like metallic sticker paper or something, but oh well. I was also really interested in the tow cable since my Mater is from the 3-pack with Percy handbrakes. So, sort of seeing this sort of. So, yeah, no, it seems that Brandon Mater's always had his tow hook like slightly off to the side, if this is to be believed. So, very interesting, very interesting. The back is unfortunately not painted black and white, but that makes sense because caution stripes would be a nightmare to paint. And the base is also fully painted. I remember this from the video. I believe this is also a 2007 diecast, not a more recent Brandon Mater, but I guess it wouldn't matter since Brandon Mater was never updated. He has been the exact same since 2007. Nothing changed. There was no changes to this item in the nearly 20 years of his existence. That is insane. All right, I'm going to wrap this video up. And luckily, the last car isn't super exciting. It's just Big D from the Disney Store. Not a lot to say. One thing I do want to say though is actually something I've noticed with quite a few Disney Store items is that since the Disney Store never really had a deluxe line like the Mattel diecasts, in order to release larger characters, they were actually downscaled. So if I were to take my Cone Teeth Mater Deluxe and I were to put Big D next to it in terms of length and width, yeah, in terms of this, Big D would fit. In terms of this, Big D would fit. In terms of, yeah. Big D could totally fit as a deluxe in a Mattel bubble. Not exactly a Cars Toons one. I don't have any Cars Toons Deluxes in the box, so I can't say for certain, but I can say that at least for 2020, they could probably pull off a deluxe Big D. Big D is a super, super interesting item because he is one of the very few instances where Disney Store made a diecast that Mattel simply didn't. The only other ones I can think of is that one Italian waitress from Cars 2 that has a diecast who was accidentally released as Danielle Muffler, I believe. Big D's basis is also kind of contested. His copyright info says he's a Packard model, but after researching, it's very clear that his design is inspired by the iconic Al Capone Cadillac. It's all black, it's got the white walls, it's got the spare tire in the front. This is a very classic mobster-esque car, and so just a really fun design, like so creative, just having this literal giant old car as the bad guy is super fun. He's going to go great in my collection alongside Miles Axelrod, Professor Z. I cannot wait to use this guy in videos. It's going to be really fun just owning this and also just owning another Disney Store car. I used to own a couple Disney Store items. I used to have their Cruising McQueen, Sally, I think Luigi as well. But I sold most of them off. Again, I would love to rebuild my Disney Store collection at some point because they do make some really interesting. Like recently, those holiday cars. Right, they just casually put out Trunk Rocker DJ like it was nothing. And Clown Red. Didn't they make... Yeah, it was Clown Red. Yeah, they made a Halloween pack. So they made Superhero McQueen and a new version of Dracula Mater. It was, insane. Okay. Let me calm back down. Big D's expression is so screen accurate. This really does not feel like a Disney Store item, because the Disney Store is very hit or miss when it comes to their diecasts, like regular diecasts. A lot of the times their expressions look a little robotic, or they're not as accurate as the Mattel ones, or they're just a worse quality. I know their McQueens, like any McQueen with a separate spoiler is just at risk of the spoiler coming off. But for Big D here, he's pretty much in perfect condition. Of course, he's missing the hood ornament, which is unfortunate, but I would attribute that less to Disney Store and more this is a loose item that was clearly loved. So, yeah, I don't think that's really Disney Store's fault. He has this huge gap in the front and the bumper, which is really interesting. I don't know if that's a thing on the real car model that this guy's supposedly based on, either of them. Because again, he could be a Packard, but I'm leaning more towards this being a Cadillac. It has these really detailed rims. I love that they're all covered up. Mattel would probably put like the little axle thing in the middle. Of course, the Santa car is a very similar model to this guy. Oh, I never noticed that the bottom here is gray, not black. That's really interesting. I don't know if that's accurate to the short, but it's very interesting. I'm assuming that this guy was textured in a very bright color, because I read somewhere that in order for the proper black and white to show up, they would need really colorful sets so that, you know, it would show up in the black and white filter. Whereas if you put actual black and actual white, it would be a lot more hard for it to show up like that. So either you do everything in black and white, or you filter really bright colors. I think his license plate... Hold on, wait. Is there supposed to be a license plate here? I know something's missing here. I can't remember what it is. I think it is the Big D license plate. Because, of course, this guy would have a license plate. But I kind of like that's, like, broken off. Makes a lot of sense for someone who would try to go under the radar. His back window is not... He doesn't have any plastic inserts for the windows. None of the Disney Store cars did that, really. That's a Mattel thing. But, yeah, the... back window is just painted on it. It's not indented or anything. There's the back cage. I believe this is where you put luggage or spare tire or something. And then here is his exhaust pipe. The bumper again. The white walls. And again, a look at the base. Man, this video is really long. I'm really sorry about that. It's just, this was a very interesting thing for me to cover. I also want to quickly bring out... Okay, I was going to compare Big D to Mato, but she's buried under all the other cars I keep in my little cars like collection box thing. So, and also the video's like gone on for 32 minutes now, so I'm gonna quickly wrap things up. Once again, I'm super grateful to own these. Right, Mater Private Eye customs are so impressive, and it's just super cool having any Mater Private Eye items. I would have never guessed in a million years that I would have ever been able to get Disney Store Big D. Because he's one of those items that, like, he's sort of a white whale, right? Sort of one of those items that, like, people really want, but it's just super expensive. I think I've seen loose ones go for about 80 to 100, which is a little more than what I paid for this. I paid about, I think, $82 or $83 in total for the entire lot. So not just these guys, but also 2 other customs. You guys are not ready for what the last custom I'm going to be reviewing from Rusty's Studios is. I genuinely don't think anyone could have seen it coming. I'll just say this. It was a semi-important character in the Agro McQueen arc. That's, you know, I guess it's fitting that I own an item from that arc, because that is probably Rusty's Studios' magnum opus. Like, the most integral part of the channel, the most iconic part of the channel. I think that's going to be one of the main things people are going to fondly remember from Rusty Studios. Unfortunately, I can't find any archives of the Rusty Studios videos. It's really unfortunate, but, you know, I'm going to keep the tradition alive. I want to do that. I want to be the one to do that. So overall, I think these are really good items. And again, I really want to make my own versions of McQueen and Mater. Not to, you know, pave over the history, but just, I guess, homage would be the right word. I want to live up to the standard of Rusty Studios. I want to, you know, make a similar mark on the world. That's what I've always wanted to do. So anyways, I think that's all I have for today. I hope you all enjoyed this review. I'm really sorry that it took a long time to cover each car, but there's just so much history and so many interesting things to talk about here. But I'm going to sign off now. So hope you all enjoyed the review, and I shall see you all around. Bye-bye.